The fluorescent lights of St. Mary's Hospital buzzed softly overhead as Marcus Bradley chased after his 3-year-old triplets down the sterile corridor. His heart pounded not from exertion, but from the familiar panic that came with being outnumbered 3-1. "Emma! Sophie! Lily! Please, girls, stop!" His voice echoed off the pale green walls. But his daughters were like puppets whose strings had been cut, running in 3 different directions, with the chaotic energy only toddlers possess. Marcus was a tall man with dark, wavy hair that always seemed slightly disheveled no matter how much he tried to tame it. At 38, he had the kind of strong features that might have made him seem intimidating if not for the perpetual look of gentle bewilderment that had taken up residence on his face since his wife, Sarah, passed away 2 years earlier. Today, he wore a simple white t-shirt that had seen better days, with a small juice stain on the shoulder that he'd discovered. Too late to change before their pediatrician appointment. The hospital had been a maze of confusion from the moment they'd arrived. The regular pediatric wing was undergoing renovations, and the temporary signs directing patients to the alternative location seemed designed by someone who'd never actually walked the route themselves. Marcus had already taken 2 wrong turns, and now, with his daughters treating the hospital like their personal playground, he was completely disoriented. Emma, wearing a pink dress with tiny white flowers, had spotted something shiny near a doorway and darted toward it. Sophie, in an identical pink outfit, had decided to follow a nurse pushing a cart, and Lily, the most adventurous of the 3, also in matching pink, had simply run for the pure joy of running. Marcus managed to scoop up Sophie first, settling her on his hip. 2 more, he muttered to himself, turning to see Emma disappearing through a doorway. "Emma, no!" He hurried after her, pushing through the door without reading the room number or checking if it was the right place. His only thought was catching his daughter before she caused chaos or, worse, got hurt. The room was dim, curtains drawn against the afternoon sun. Marcus's eyes took a moment to adjust as he stepped inside, Sophie still on his hip. There by the window stood Emma, having climbed onto a chair to look at something on the bedside table. "Emma, sweetheart, we need to..." Marcus's words died in his throat as he noticed the figure in the hospital bed. A woman lay there, her blonde hair spread across the pillow like strands of spun gold catching what little light filtered through the curtains. She had the kind of delicate features that reminded Marcus of classical paintings, though her face was pale, almost translucent. Her eyes were closed, but there was something peaceful about her expression, not the troubled sleep of someone in pain. She wore a hospital gown in that particular shade of blue-green that seemed universal to all medical facilities. Despite her obvious illness, there was something quietly beautiful about her, a gentleness that seemed to emanate from her very presence. "Oh God, I'm so sorry," Marcus whispered, moving to collect Emma. "We're in the wrong room. The girls, they just ran off and I..." The woman's eyes fluttered open. They were blue, the color of a summer sky just before sunset, and they fixed on Emma with an expression that made Marcus freeze. She was smiling, not the annoyed smile of someone whose rest had been disturbed, or the polite smile of someone too weak to complain. It was genuine, warm, reaching all the way to those remarkable eyes. "Hello there, little one," she said softly, her voice slightly hoarse but filled with warmth. "That's quite an entrance you've made." Emma, never shy, grinned back. "I'm Emma. I'm 3. She held up 3 fingers proudly. "3 is a wonderful age," the woman said, and there was something in her tone, a wistfulness perhaps, that tugged at Marcus's heart. "I'm really sorry," Marcus said again, finally finding his voice. He set Sophie down carefully. "We're supposed to be at a doctor's appointment." But the signs and the girls... He trailed off, suddenly aware he was babbling. "I'll get them out of your way." "You're not in my way," the woman said, her gaze shifting from Emma to Marcus, then to Sophie. Her smile widened slightly. "Are there more of you?" As if on cue, Lily appeared in the doorway, having apparently followed the sound of voices. She walked in with the confidence of someone who owned the place, her pink dress swishing around her legs. "And there's the 3rd, Marcus said with a tired laugh. "Triplets. Emma, Sophie, and Lily. They're a handful on the best of days. 3 beautiful girls, the woman said, and Marcus heard that wistful note again. You're very blessed. Something in the way she said it, in the longing he saw in her eyes as she looked at his daughters, made Marcus pause. He'd been so focused on corralling the girls, so caught up in the chaos of single parenthood, that he'd almost forgotten how to notice others, how to see beyond his own struggles. But he saw this woman now, really saw her, and he recognized something familiar in her expression. Loneliness. It was the same thing he saw in his own mirror every morning. I'm Marcus, he found himself saying. Marcus Bradley. Claire, she replied. Claire Patterson. Are you... Marcus hesitated, unsure if it was appropriate to ask. Are you here alone? Claire's smile flickered for just a moment, but she kept her composure. Today, yes. My sister usually visits in the evenings after work. Don't worry about me, though. You should probably get these little ones to their appointment. Marcus glanced at his watch and winced. They were already 15 minutes late. But something kept him rooted to the spot. Maybe it was the way Lily had wandered over to the bed, looking up at Claire with open curiosity. Maybe it was the way... Claire's whole face had lit up when she looked at his daughters, despite whatever pain or illness had brought her here. Do you like stories? Lily asked Claire suddenly, with the directness only a child could manage. I love stories, Claire said. Daddy tells us stories about Mama, Lily announced. She's in heaven. Marcus felt his chest tighten. That familiar ache that always came when the girls mentioned Sarah. He'd tried so hard to keep her memory alive for them, even though they'd been so young when she died that their memories of her were really just stories he'd told them, photographs they'd studied together. I'm sure your mama was wonderful, Claire said gently, and when her eyes met Marcus's, he saw understanding there. She knew about loss, perhaps intimately. We should really go, Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. Maybe we could... That is, if you'd like company sometime, we could visit. The girls could tell you more stories. The offer surprised even him as it came out, but it felt right somehow. Claire's expression shifted, surprise giving way to something that might have been hope. I'd like that very much. Marcus managed to gather all 3 girls, promising them ice cream if they could just make it to the right room this time. But before he left, he paused at the doorway. Room 412, he said. I'll remember this time. Room 412, Claire confirmed, her smile brighter than it had been. I'll be here. And she was. Marcus brought the girls back 2 days later, after their properly attended appointment had revealed nothing more serious than a shared cold. They came bearing a bouquet of daisies that Emma had insisted upon, even though they were white and pink and not at all fancy. Claire had accepted them as though they were roses, arranging them carefully in a water pitcher a nurse brought. The visits became regular. At first, Marcus told himself it was for the girls. They'd taken to Claire immediately, the way children sometimes do with certain adults. Claire would ask them about their day, listen to their rambling stories with genuine interest, and never seemed tired of their endless questions. But if Marcus was being honest with himself, the visits were for him too. There was something calming about Claire's presence. She spoke with deliberation, her words measured and thoughtful. She didn't fill every silence with chatter, didn't offer unsolicited advice about parenting or grief, didn't treat his loss like something that needed to be fixed. She simply listened, and in listening, created a space where Marcus could breathe a little easier. Over the following weeks, he learned her story in pieces, the way you learn about anyone you're coming to care for. She was 35, had been a kindergarten teacher before getting sick. Stage 4 ovarian cancer, diagnosed only 8 months ago. The prognosis wasn't good, a fact she stated with the same calm acceptance she brought to everything else. I've made my peace with it, she told him one quiet afternoon while the girls napped in chairs. Marcus had pushed together. I'm not giving up, but I'm not afraid either. I've had a good life, even if it'll be shorter than I hoped. How do you do that? Marcus asked, keeping his voice low. How do you stay so calm? Claire was quiet for a moment, looking past him to where soft sunlight filtered through the curtains. I suppose I decided early on that I could spend whatever time I have left being angry and afraid, or I could spend it being grateful for small kindnesses. Your daughter's running into my room, for instance. That was a gift I didn't know I needed. Marcus found himself visiting even on days when he didn't bring the girls. He'd stop by after dropping them at his mother's house, bringing coffee and pastries, or sometimes just sitting in comfortable silence while Claire read or dozed. Her sister Janet would be there some evenings, and she'd thank Marcus quietly for the company he provided. "She lights up when you're here," Janet told him once. "When you and the girls visit." I haven't seen her smile like that since before the diagnosis. As summer turned toward fall, something shifted between them. It wasn't dramatic or sudden, but rather like the gentle changing of seasons itself. Marcus realized he was thinking about Claire when he wasn't with her, wondering what she'd think of something funny Lily said, or wishing he could share with her the small victories and frustrations of his days. One September evening, after the girls had gone home with his mother and the hospital had grown quiet, Marcus found himself still sitting beside Claire's bed. "You don't have to stay," she said softly, though her hand was wrapped around his where it rested on the blanket. "I want to," he replied. And then, because the words had been building in him for weeks, "Claire, I need to tell you something." She waited, her blue eyes steady on his face. "I didn't expect this," he said. "After Sarah died, I thought that was it for me. I had the girls to focus on, and that felt like enough. More than enough, really, considering how overwhelming it all was." He paused, gathering courage. "But then my daughters chased me into the wrong room, and I met you, and everything changed. Marcus, I know the timing is terrible," he continued. "I know you're sick, and I know there are no guarantees. But I also know that I've fallen in love with you, with your kindness, your strength, your gentle way of being in the world. And I need you to know that, even if it doesn't change anything." Claire's eyes had